Hello and welcome to Reflection Notes. So we've got one learning target today and we're going to perform reflections on the coordinate plane. So if you remember, reflection is going to be a flip. So they're sometimes called flip because the figure is flipped like a pancake. Every reflection has a line of reflection, which is the line that maps it onto itself. So to reflect a figure, you're going to draw a line that cuts the figure in half. If you were to fold the figure along the line into two parts, it should overlap perfectly. This is called the line of symmetry. It can also be called the line of reflection. Okay, so in a butterfly, you've got like one line of reflection cut down the middle. Star has several lines of reflection. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines of reflection. And then seashell probably just has one going through right here. Okay, so that is the middle line that we can reflect something over and it'd be the exact same. So let's take a look at some examples. So these are the two most common lines of reflection, is reflecting it over the y-axis and the x-axis. Okay, you might also see a little r to stand for the word reflect. So like in translations we had a big T, in reflections you have a little r. So a capital R stands for rotations, little r stands for reflections. So the y-axis is right here, so it's a red line. And I'm going to reflect point A over that. Okay, so A is to the left of Y, so it's going to flip to the right of Y. And you just count how far it is away. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 on the left, so I'm going to start at that Y-axis and go 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's your new shape, your image, and that will be A prime. Okay, so that's how you reflect something over the Y-axis. It's going to flip from left to right. And then the other way is to reflect it over the x-axis, which means up and down. So again, you could have a little r with a subscript of the x-axis. Okay, so first off, count how far above it is. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 above. So it's going to be in the same line, but go 5 below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. And that is going to be your A prime. Okay, so exact same distance up top to bottom. All right, so the rule. Let's write some coordinates first. So 1, 2. A is at a 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A prime flipped over to a -4, but still is at a +5. Okay, so notice that the y's did not change. They were still 5 and 5. But the x's did change. They became opposites of each other. Okay, so for any ordered pair x comma y, the rule when you reflect it over the y-axis is the y is not going to change, but your x is opposite, and how we show opposite is with a negative sign. Okay, so that's a fancy rule for reflecting something over the y-axis. I don't like to memorize the rules because I'm not good at memorizing. I just count. Okay. All right, so same thing over here. A was at a 4, 5. Same point from before, but my A point still was in line 4, but dropped down to a -5. Okay, so this is similar but different. So my x's did not change. So my x will go to an x. It's not going to change, but my y's became opposites of each other. So the opposites -y. Okay, so these are the fancy rules if you want to memorize them. That will help you answer problems quicker, or you can be a visual person and count. It's up to you. All right, so those are the most common ways, reflecting over the x-axis and the y-axis. Let's look at some other ways. We can also reflect it over a line that is not an axis. So these are a little bit trickier because they are harder to memorize. So let's reflect it over the line y equals 2. So first you have to draw the line y equals 2. Okay, now if it's y equals a number, that is going to be a horizontal line because it has to hit the y-axis. That's how I remember it. It's also the opposite of the y-axis. Okay, same thing over here for x equals -2. If you have a line x equals a number, that is going to be a vertical line because it has to hit the x-axis at a number. So it has to hit the x-axis, so it is the opposite of the x-axis. So on these problems, you first have to draw the line. So I have to go to a y as a -2, which would be down here, and then draw your horizontal line. So that is the line of reflection, y equals -2. Okay, so same thing as before, I'm just going to count how far it is from that line. And since it's above it, I'm going to flip it below it. Okay, if you remember, that's 5 units from before, 6, 7. So it's 7 units above, so I'm going to go 7 below, starting at this point down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all the way down there, showing at a -9, I believe. Okay, now there is no fancy rule that we're going to learn for this one, like the opposite x or opposite y. We're just going to count for these. All right, so let's take a look at reflection over the line x equals -2. Again, you can have the little r standing for reflection, and then as a subscript, your line of reflection. So x equals -2. It's going to be a vertical line through a -2. Okay, we're going to count how far a is from away. It is 2 to the left away from your red line, so flip it on over, 2 to the right. It's going to end up on the y-axis, a prime. All right. So that is how you reflect a line over not an axis. Okay, first step is you'll have to draw the line and then count how far it is from that line. Okay, so we've covered an x-axis, y-axis, y equals a number, x equals a number, and there are 2 more. And then we've covered them all. Okay, the other one, and these are tricky because they are diagonals. Okay, and it's harder to visualize. So we're going to reflect it over the line y equals x. So in order to do that, the x coordinate and the y coordinate are going to switch. Okay, so let's do this. So first off, the line y equals x. That is a line starting at 0, 0 with a slope of 1 over 1, 1 over 1. So it's a diagonal line going up right through the origin. So here's my line, y equals x. Don't have to draw it, but I'm going to show you. So the rule, y equals x and x equals y means you literally just flip-flop them. So here's an example. 2, -4 became 4, -2. Okay, so if I graph 2, -4, there was my original a. If I graph the image, -4, +2, if I were to fold that sheet of paper and turn my head to the side, they would fold on top of each other. Okay? All right, let's take a look at one more. So b, I'm going to flip them. So -4, 2 becomes 2, -4, and that's my answer, and you just graph it. So on these, I do memorize the rules. So again, 4, -2 is at the exact same point. And then if I flip it over here, so they're at the same point. They're just flip-flopped. Okay? All right, I want you guys to press pause and try C and D and graph them, and then see if you can come up with the fancy rule for these kinds of problems. Okay? All right, press pause, try C, D, and come up with the rule. So C, if you flip-flop them, you get -3, -1, and I graphed that in blue over here. Same thing for D, if you flip-flop them, you get -4, -3. So again, they're kind of splitting that middle line. All right. The rule, since your x's and your y's switch, just switch them. So x becomes y and y becomes x. That's how you can kind of look at it. Okay. So reflection over the line y equals x, you'll flip your coordinates. Okay. I would memorize that one. All right. There's one last case, which is the hardest one. Okay. It is reflecting over the line y equals -x. Okay, so we just did y equals x, which was positive going up. Now we're going to do y equals -x. So I have a negative slope of a line. So that's when you start at the origin, but it's going down perfectly diagonally, like so. I think I drew a terrible line right there. So the line y equals x is the line going -x is the line going down. Okay, the rule with this one, you are still going to switch them, so the x and the y coordinates are going to be switched. But this negative means take the opposite. So I'm going to change their signs. So what they did, let's look at an example. 2, -4, they first flipped them, so they got -4, 2, but then they had to change their signs. So -4 became a +4, +2 became a -2. Okay, so flip and change the sign. So if I were to graph them, 2, -4, There's my A, and then 4, negative 2, my A prime. So that negative line is going right through those 2 coordinate points. Okay? All right. I'm going to let you guys try B, C, and D, and then see if you can come up with a fancy rule again. Okay? So flip your coordinates and change their signs. Press pause. Try those on your numbers. Okay? So you should have got negative 2, positive 4, positive 3, positive 1, and positive 4, positive 3. When you graph them, you should have gotten this lovely picture. Okay? So remember, I take an extra step, for example, so I flip them first, so like negative 2, or 2, negative 4, and then I change their signs because that helps me to do 2 steps. Okay? For the rule, so you first have to switch them, so the X became the Y, and then to change the sign, you would put negative numbers with both of those. Okay? So those are the different types of way you can reflect something. So X-axis, Y-axis, X equals a number, Y equals a number, diagonally Y equals X, diagonally Y equals negative X. Okay, those are the 6 options to reflect. So let's take a look at some examples now. Okie doke. So here they've given us our pictures, and I'm going to draw the line of symmetry and write the rule. Okay, so first I'm going to write the line in which it's reflected over. Okay, so notice the blue shape is the image because it has little markings of the primes on them. So my black shape is my pre-image, the original one, and blue shape is the image. So first off, you have to find the middle. To do that, I would pick your 2 favorite letters. I'd pick them probably close together. So J and J prime are super close together. I'm going to split the middle, which will be this line. Okay, so you first have to ask yourself, is it flipping up and down? If so, you're going to draw a horizontal line. Is it flipping left to right? Because then you will draw a vertical line. Okay, so this is a line of reflection. It is hit the y-axis, so that is y equals, hit the y-axis at a negative 2. Okay, so some options. The shortest way is to do a little r and then put y equals negative 2 below it. So it was reflected over the line y equals negative 2. You can also write out reflected over y equals negative 2. Totally up to you. I think the little r is definitely faster. Okay? Let's take a look at number 2. All right. So I've got something on the bottom, something on the top, so it's flipping from up to down, down to up. So I'm going to be drawing a horizontal line. Let's see. We'll count X. Boom, boom, boom. They meet in the middle. Okay, so here is the middle, which ends up being the X-axis. So you could name that 2 different ways. Fastest way would probably be the X-axis. Now you're not wrong if you say y equals 0. They're both the same thing because that is where your y is 0. But the rule, I'm going to do a little r and then put the X-axis. That's probably what you'll see the most. Okay, both are right, you get to pick. All right, so you try 3 and 4. So write the rule for that reflection and see if you can draw the line of symmetry. So press pause, try 3 and 4. For number 3, I looked at my point Z and Z prime and I split the middle. And so since that's a horizontal line, that would be y equals a number, and so I did little r, reflection over y equals negative 1. Okay? And then over here, we got a little different one. We got a vertical line, and so that hit the x-axis at a negative 2, and so that's why I did little r, negative 2, reflected over the line x equals negative 2. Okay? So that is how you find the line of symmetry and how you write a rule for reflections. Okay. All right, last part is to graph. Okay. So I'm going to do number 5, and I'm going to do number 6, and I'll let you guys try the rest. So reflection over the x-axis. I always draw my line first to help me out. Okay. So this is a little different because the line is going through the shape. So when the line goes through the shape, you're going to have to move some things up and down and vice versa. Okay. So for example, A. A is 1 above. The opposite of 1 above is 1 below. So A is going to be in the same line, going 1 below. Go ahead and put your prime. Okay, so I flipped everything from the top to the bottom, and now I just have to flip it from the bottom to the top. So G was one below, opposite of one below is one above. Don't know why I'm switching colors on y'all, but here's my G prime. Okay, let's go over here to U. U was 1, 2, 3, 4 below, so go 1, 2, 3, 4 above. U prime, new shape. Okay, shortcut, I know U and T make a straight line, so if I flip T up here, I know it has to be a straight line there as well. Or you can count, up to you. So now I connect my points. So A connected to G, A connected to U, and then boom. Okay, so now that looks like a shape that is flipped over that red line. It's a mirror image. Okay, all right. Let me try number 6 now. Reflection across the line y equals -1. Actually, I lied. I don't want to do that one for y'all. I want to do number 7. Okay. Reflection across the line x equals -2. So first I have to draw the line x equals -2. It needs to hit the x-axis at a -2. So I'm going to draw a vertical line. Okay. These are definitely easier than the previous one if the line does not go through the shape, because it's just nicer to see. So Z was 1 to the left now, so we're going left to right. So flip Z over to the right one. R was 2 away, so I'm going to flip it 2 on the other side, R prime. And then N was 1, 2, 3 away, so 1, 2, 3. N prime, connect your dots. Okay? So that is how you graph an image over an axis or over a line. Okay? All right, so don't forget your primes. Another thing is if it asks you for the coordinates, it wants the order pairs of your new shape. So for example, I would have to write R prime, Z prime, N prime, and then tell me their new coordinates. Okay? So R would be at a 0 and then down 2. So 0, -2. Z would be at a -1. So start at your origin always. -1, 1, 2, 3. -1, -3. And then N would be at a +1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5. Okay? So if it ever wants you to find coordinates, that's kind of what it means. Give me the order pair of their new image. All right, y'all try 6 and 8, and then we will be done with reflections. Press pause, try them on your own. So on number 6, your line went through your shape. It was a horizontal line because it had to hit the y-axis at a -1. So S was the only one that flipped above. The rest flipped below. That's your answer. On number 8, notice that V is on the y-axis, so we can't flip it off the y-axis. So V prime will stay at the same order pair, and then that y and the W are the only thing that will move. Okay? So if you have a point and it's on an axis, it'll stay there. All right, so that's how you reflect things. You can draw the line of symmetry, reflect them over, etc. And there are those 6 lines that we talked about at the beginning. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can get to practicing.